it going? It's Luke with Decimator Die Cuts here. Assuming you're watching this video obviously because you just picked up a Decimator die cut from a shop, or possibly you just got one in the mail from DecimatorDiecuts.com. And first of all, smart move on not going ahead and trying to put that thing on the wall yourself. It's not exactly rocket science, but there is certainly some techniques that we can show you in the video here that'll help you get it on the wall properly instead of turning it into a ugly disaster of epic proportions. So let's begin.
Alright, so before we get started here, we're going to have to go run around and grab some tools. Don't really care how you get them, just make sure you get these. We need some masking tape. This is going to help us get our design in the proper place, as well as help us get the design on the wall. A spatula. If you don't have a spatula, you can buy these from DecimatorDiecuts.com, and some of the retailers that we go through carry these as well. But if you don't have them, you can use any other items that have a nice flat surface edge that aren't too sharp and are easily removable, and you're basically just going to use these things to press against the design to get it on the wall. Credit cards, jewel cases, anything else, like I said, that's got a nice flat edge. An X-Acto knife or box cutter. Measuring tape to make sure you get the design in the right place. Water or isopropyl alcohol just to clean the surface you're putting the die cut on. And of course paper towel to wipe it down. We're getting ready to put our die cuts on the wall. We're waiting for the wall to dry. What we need to do before we apply the decal, you can see here, I'm going to pull this backing away, or the masking away, sorry, and the die cut is actually stuck to the backing. We don't want that. We want the backing stuck to the masking so that we can put that against the wall. So what we're going to do is place this on a flat surface, squeegee the back side to make sure that we put pressure and get the vinyl stuck to the masking rather than the back.
So when you first pull your die cut out of the tube or shipping container that it was in, it might be kind of rounded. It may not be a bad idea just to put it somewhere on a flat surface where it's not going to get walked on. Just let it settle a little bit and get flatter. It'll be easier to apply to the surface that you're putting it on. We're going to put this on this wall here, but you can also put them on windows, appliances like fridge, toilet, microwave, wherever you want to put it. Vehicle windows, vehicle doors, bodies, pretty much any flat surface will work. Once you've found where you want to put your die cut, you're going to want to make sure that you clean your surface thoroughly and also let it dry fully before you start to put your die cut on there, or else it won't stick properly. I've already cleaned this wall here, so we won't show that process, but I'm sure you all know how to clean something. Before we start here, we're just going to talk about the different parts of your die cut. There's three main parts. You've got the mask, which is this front layer here. It looks like a big piece of masking tape because that's exactly what it is. You also have the backing, which is just like the back of any normal sticker. And then you can see stuck to the back of the masking tape is the actual decal itself, or the die cut. It's basically just vinyl material. So on most die cuts, we give you a couple little tools to help you out and make the installation process as easy as possible. You'll see there's a bunch of boxes kind of around the image here. We've got a couple on either side. These boxes without any numbers in them are just for leveling purposes. So when I'm measuring from the floor, or sometimes we'll have them vertically so you can measure from the side. It's basically just to make sure you get your design completely level and that it's not ending up crooked like this or something. So when you're measuring where you want to put your design, make sure you take your measuring tape and measure to these markers here. These other markers here that are numbered, they're basically, if you're doing multiple colors, this is basically the base layer 1. And you'll see once we get further along here, we're going to take our next color, and we're going to use these blocks to help us match and make sure that we get that color in the second layer in the exact right spot. So we're going to take two pieces of masking tape and put them in the top corners. At this point, we're not going to remove the back of the die cut, or else your image is obviously going to stick. We're not quite ready for that yet. We want to make sure we have it in the right spot and that it's completely level. So I'm just going to put this on the wall. Then I'm going to use my measuring markers to make sure that it's completely level. Okay, so now we've got our design all measured up. It's nice and level. What we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of masking tape right through the middle of the design. So for taller designs, you might want to do this horizontally. For lengthwise designs, you want to do this vertically. This design is pretty much square, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, now we've got our tape on here. What we're going to do, we're going to take our piece of masking tape off the corner. The middle piece is going to hold the design in place. We're going to let that fall right over the middle piece there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel the backing away from the mask, and it kind of works better if you hold the mask firm and pull the backing off of the mask. If you try and pull the masking tape off the backing, sometimes what will happen is that the decal will stick to the back, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to pull the backing kind of away. Now we've got our design, the backing's been pulled away, and we've got our bottom still has the backing on it. The top is ready to be stuck to the surface that we're going to put the die cut on. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to hold this up. I'm going to make sure that I'm holding it away from the wall. I'm going to take my spatula tool here. If you don't have a spatula, you can also use credit cards, CD cases, anything that's basically got a nice edge on it that's not too sharp and is easily maneuverable. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start in the center of the design. I'm not going to go too high up, just about an inch or so. I'm going to start at the center, move to one side, then I'm going to go back to the center and go to the other side. I'm just going to do that all the way up the surface of my design without going too fast. We've got the top half of our design on the wall. If you go too fast and you try and use your whole tool and do a big sweeps, what's going to happen, you're going to get little folds or creases in your design, which we obviously don't want. We want it nice and flat and smooth against the wall. What we're going to do now is take the masking tape off the middle. It's important that you do this before you do the other side, or else you can end up with bubbles and folds kind of in the middle where the tape was on the design. So now the top of the design is holding it on the wall. We're going to lift the bottom. Repeat the same process with the backing that we did on the top. So we've got our design on the wall. You can see in a few spots we have these little bubbles, and those are air bubbles. What we want to try and do is get rid of those before we take the masking off the design, or else it might show the bubbles in the actual vinyl itself. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife, and of course be careful, you got a sharp blade here. Just poke a tiny hole on one side of the bubble. I'm going to use my thumb just to push the air out. So you start on the side of the bubble furthest away from the hole and just move it in, and that'll get rid of your air pocket for you. Okay, so we've got our bubbles out and our folds. Now we're just going to take our masking off. So as you're pulling the masking away, you kind of want to stay as close to the wall as possible. That'll help the vinyl stick to the wall and not the masking as you're pulling it off. You're basically just going to do this on the whole design. Go slow. You want to make sure that the vinyl's not lifting anywhere, and if it is, then if you're going slow, you can stop and correct that before you do any damage. Okay, so we got our first color down, and we're going to lay down our second color, which in this case we've got some brown, light caramel color to go on top of our brown. We're going to make a nautical star. So you can see the numbers on the star on the wall correlate to numbers on the pieces that we're going to lay on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rectangular 5 on this one here, and I'm going to line it up with my rectangular 5 on the design here. So you need to make sure that your cuts, if they're not cut already, we usually try and do that for you, but if not, make sure that you get some nice close cuts to the lines on the image going above so you can line them up properly. These extra boxes here obviously aren't part of the image. Now that we're done with them because we used it to line up, we're just going to remove that